So, having laid the background to the state in Africa, let us come to Kwame Nkrumah. I will look at Kwame Nkrumah first, using the view of a critique, an intellectual critique. So here, I titled this Nkrumah, the Leninist Czar. The Leninist Czar. Who called him a Leninist? Ali Mazrui. Ali Mazrui is one of Africa's intellectual greats. He began his academic career at the University of Makerere, Uganda, serving as a professor of political science and director of the Center for Afro-American and African Studies at the University of Michigan. Mazrui was a visiting scholar at some of the best universities in the world, including Stanford University, the University of Chicago, Oxford, and Harvard. In 2005, Mazrui was selected as the 73rd topmost intellectual in the world. He also made the list of the top 100 public intellectuals by Prospect Magazine of the UK and Foreign Policy Magazine of the United States. Ali Mazrui was influenced by Kwame Nkrumah's ideas of Pan-Africanism, conscientism. So this formed the subject of his discussion on Africa's triple heritage. Mazrui defined triple heritage as 1. Africanity, Islam, and Christianity. That is the triple heritage of Africa. In the article Nkrumah, the Leninist Czar, published in 1966, Mazrui appreciates Nkrumah's vision of Africa and his ability to inspire Ghanaian nationalism. In the work, he views Nkrumah as a visionary leader who designed appropriate strategies to achieve his goals. However, Mazrui says Nkrumah was carried away by his personality, that Nkrumah's failings came from the tragedy of his domestic excesses. Assessing Nkrumah's rise to power on grounds of his organizational skills and masses orientation, Mazrui blames him for becoming overtly elitist, having used the masses of Ghana to gain power on the platform of the Convention People's Party, CPP. Mazrui frowns at Nkrumah's policy of harassing and persecuting his opponents. J.B. Dankwa, one of the leaders that invited Nkrumah home from London and made him the Secretary General of the United Gold Coast Convention, UGCC, was imprisoned by Nkrumah. Unfortunately, J.B. Dankwa died in detention. One of Nkrumah's flaws that Africans will not forget. Kwame Nkrumah was born in September 1909, the same year Obafemi Awolowo was born. He liked Obafemi Awolowo, and Awolowo liked him. Nkrumah became the Prime Minister of Ghana in 1952. That's about 5 years before Ghana's independence. At independence in 1957, Kwame Nkrumah retained his position as the Prime Minister. He became the President of Ghana after the constitutional amendment of 1960. Like Nigeria, Ghana started as a parliamentary system. Britain colonized Ghana the way it colonized Nigeria, and it started Nigeria as a parliamentary system. After 3 years of self-governance in Ghana, in 1960, there was constitutional reform, and Nkrumah moved from being Prime Minister to being the President of Ghana. He was a socialist. He invested huge resources for the industrial takeoff of Ghana. As a traditional Pan-Africanist, Nkrumah developed a strong national education system for his country. He was overthrown in the military coup of 1966. The coup was sponsored by Western powers who were not comfortable with his rising power, especially in wanting to redefine Africa, changing it from the way the colonialists handed it to indigenous leadership. On his ouster, he lived the rest of his life in Guinea and died in 1972. What is clear is that Nkrumah towered above his contemporaries. With an exuberant personality and deep intellectual disposition, he led the struggle for the speedy and immediate decolonization of Africa. Nkrumah's speech at Ghana's independence in 1957 explains his vision of Africa. We are going to play you that speech. In a moving oration, Nkrumah talked about reshaping the destiny of his country in the brotherhood of Africa, meaning that Ghana's progress was dependent on the progress of the African continent. In the independence speech, Nkrumah promised that Africans will sleep no more. He called it a new Africa, ready to fight its own battle, to prove that when given the chance, the African can create his own personality and identity. Can you see where Egosa Osagai's second independence call comes from? So let's listen to Kwame Nkrumah delivering his speech on Independence Day in Ghana. Kwame Nkrumah, Independence Speech.
No matter how far my eye goes, I can see that you are here in your millions, And my last warning to you is that you all should stand firm behind us so that we can prove to the world that when the African is given a chance, he can show to the world that he's somebody. We are waiting. We shall no more go back to sleep anymore. Today, from now on, there is a new African in the world. That new African is ready to fight his own battle and show that after all, the black man is capable of managing his own affairs. We are going to demonstrate to the world, to the other nations, young as we are, that we are prepared to lay our own foundation. As I said in the assembly just minutes ago, I made a point that we are going to see that we create our own African personality and identity. It's the only way in which we can show the world that we are ready for our own battle. We have done the battle, and we again rededicate ourselves not only in the struggle to emancipate other territories in Africa. Our independence is meaningless unless it is linked up with the total liberation of the African continent.